Hey, Tracy Lewis from Stuff and Things. It is that time again, Paper Pumpkin. I am a couple of weeks late in doing this. I was able to see what the kit was because 1 year as late as I was in receiving it, things get posted all over the place. So I do know what it is and already kind of have an idea of what I will do for alternatives. I did not get to take a driving video because the box was actually in a bigger box with all of our forwarded mail and I was driving. So I'm going to go ahead and open the box now. I will not be doing a create, which I will explain in a minute. I am looking for my box cutter. So this month, it's Day by Day, is what it is called, and most of the Paper Pumpkin kits do come as card projects, but sometimes they do, so, say 3D projects. Like this Halloween, they had 36 little bags that you would create with tags. And this month, I know because I was so delayed that I've seen what it looks like finished, and it is a calendar, which actually for most people a single calendar being sent to them isn't as interesting, but it is a smaller sized calendar and I don't have any calendars, so I will be assembling it to hang on the wall. It comes with 2 spots, Grapefruit Grove and Pool Party, and it comes with a stamp set that has just some fun neutral doodads, lines and dots and dashes and circles, and every day is a fresh start and the word hello. So my theory, since this is a calendar and I will be using it, I'm not sure if there's any extra pieces that come with it. Let's just see. It's supposed to be given as a gift. I can feel that it has a box. So let's see what kind of materials we have. Because my theory is that I will make the calendar up and then I will still be able to use the stamps and maybe the ribbon or the baker's twine for cards. And I'm not sure with these other pieces what I might be able to do with them. These are stickers. And you get more than 12 because there's 12 months, but you get an extra sheet, so you get 16 stickers. Oh, even more than that. 20 stickers. And then some tags, which might not be used for my calendar and probably will not be used for my alternatives, but I will still stick them in my stash for gift giving. And since I won't be doing the create, since I would rather get right into doing the alternatives for you guys, because I will be making this up in some form to hang on the wall behind me, in fact. So I will be getting right to it with alternative ideas, and I will be back to share them with you. All right, I'm back and I have 8 alternatives to show you. 4 of them are what I would call beginning crafter cards that are a single layer with the inks that were provided, with the stamps provided. This particular kit, the only thing I really needed to bring extra to it today is pretty much cardstock. And I did bring one die set that I'll show you, as well as a few embossing folders. So, Whisper White, I added Blackberry Bliss, and I only used it on one project. I did use the Grapefruit Grove and Pool Party cardstocks. And from First Frost, I decided I would like to play with one of the dice that it's a 2-part die. And I haven't done anything with it yet. Here it is, still with a piece in it. because I wanted to share a tip that I have for any of your multi-part dies. This actually cuts out an inner piece as well as makes a very thin frame, and I'll show you how I used that later. So what I did is I took washi tape and to be safe, just like with painter's tape, I run it on my clothes to basically de-stick it so it's not as sticky as it would be if you just were to stick it on, because it can peel up cardstock. So this is how I used it. I ran it through the Big Shot, and it has two parts. This is the inner piece, and then it also made another piece that I'll show you, which is a very thin frame around the outside. So that is all I used. Now what I might do, I have one project that I haven't finished the full design. I'll do it as I go and then show you at the end, and it would be my Avid card. The other three cards I would call casual crafter, fairly quick to make, maybe using some of the extra pieces like an embossing folder, and then the die cut, which is the border from that die cut that I just showed you. So the easy part here, I will show you these four. These are my beginning crafter cards. They are one layer. Mine are fronts because I will probably dress these up. I'm not a person known for my basic cards. I pretty much do more elaborate cards. So these cards will get maybe trimmed up more. This hello, which is a single color, a beginning crafter could just put it on a base. They could stamp it on the base. For me, I will probably trim out the hello, maybe do a fishtail and add it to as a top layer with other colored layers. I thought this came out really cute. There's my strategy when I have lots of different little designs on the stamps is to bring out, I have 5 paper pumpkin stamps. You get one for your first kit, and then subsequent kits don't come with it. So I had one from my first one, and then as a demonstrator, I can buy them. And I pull them all out, and I put all of these different shapes of stamps on both sides, and then I can kind of freely stamp and clean, and make various designs, as you will see. So I really liked how this came out with just on the one side. I like a lot of white. I think white balances out a card. I don't think that I think I did one that covered the full front, and I prefer this style with it on 2/3 or off to the side with the message usually bottom right corner is what I tend to do. So this one is a crisscross pattern. I think it came out really cute, and I would definitely be maybe adding the ribbon, this blue ribbon, which I did use in the more advanced one. So I could see adding some ribbon to this, and then adding the pool party layer behind. This is the one that I told you I didn't like as well, but I wanted to show it because a beginning stamper probably would do something like this, which is totally fine. I even made sure that I made a boo-boo right in the middle of it, and I think overall, if you put this on a card front and they make a mistake like that, it looks totally fine. So those are the 4 beginning crafter designs that I will probably dress up. And now I'm going to show you the more casual crafter that has done this for a while. They prefer to work fast and do things maybe not as elaborate as an Avid creator. So this is a color on color design. I think that one strategy for people is to make these components. I did this for Christmas. It works better for me to just go ahead and play with making my layers, building them up. I did the tag So I used the back of the to from tags. I used the white twine that came, and I pulled out this DSP that's white and Grapefruit Grove is the pattern DSP. And to add interest to the layers, I went ahead and used the lined stamp on some Grapefruit Grove, and then did the hello with an underline and then added just an interesting shape. And I've already done the base, which I will just adhere this to, and there will be the first completed casual crafter card that could still be dressed up even more. But I think this card, complete like it is, looks great. And this is a card that I would use. The second one is the one that I did Blackberry Bliss. I thought I would use the Blackberry Bliss more, but this is another component that I made. It is in itself a little piece part that has all of the layering, and I did the ribbon. I let their ends be a little bit frayed. I tried to keep them really crisp, but ultimately I think it'll be just fine as they're frayed a bit. And on the back, I stabilized this ribbon to make it into a component by taping the ribbon down. I've seen it done where you just tape it directly to the background, and I didn't want to do that, so this particular card will look something like that when it's done. I may add something behind. I haven't figured out what one more thing would be. Sequins would also be something that I could add, and I have the epoxy droplets. So this one will need a little bit more for me to be able to actually use it, but I still like it. And I like this interesting little stamp, the 3-part stamp, and then these kind of stone looking stamps. This is using the subtle embossing folder. I believe this is the dots embossing folder. To make the whites, so here's a secret. A beginning person who has done a few paper pumpkins and then maybe has bought Whisper White is going to be frustrated because the tones don't match. These are from the Paper Pumpkin kit, and this is Whisper White. So the trick that I use, because even this DSP, pattern DSP, does not match Whisper White. So these 3 whites are all different. How I overcome the differences showing is by sponging. So keep that in mind as you're teaching beginners, or for yourself if you are a beginner and you're starting to mix your whites and you're buying different whites and you find they don't match. Sponging is a perfect way to get them to not appear different, especially when you have them right next to each other. So that's the tip for that. The third one I would say is already on its way to one step further past a casual stamper to being more of an Avid stamper. It has ribbon, it has multiple layers. I haven't even adhered these yet. And then it has these 2 very thin borders. And I want to show you what happens. That was a nice effect. When I lay this over the top, it becomes a geometric shape. I still would do one more something. I don't know what that something is quite yet, but I wanted to show you my trick. I want to make this be a banner with tails. So a trick that I was taught is to snip in the middle and then cut at an angle into the middle. And that is the best way to get a centered fishtail on the side of your banner. So there's one side. It's not perfect. And I try to be really careful as I get to the center, because I want it to look smooth if possible. Oops, almost there. Okay, so for me, this is going to be how I finish this card off, and then I will probably look at sequins, epoxy. I like that this has the 3 colors and 2 colors of wood, so there's a lot going on here, but I still think it could go one step further, but it's getting close to being an Avid stamper level project that I will probably play with. And then this part will be popped up and these pieces will be tacked down. I will probably use mono glue for those. The last one is definitely going to end up an Avid stamper project. It uses the tin tile embossing folder. I then used the corrugated embossing folder, and I tore the paper and I added the ribbon. I think this is going to be very pretty. And then here's my last little tip for the day. This I learned, I don't know, years ago on a video I watched. It might have been, it was some other brand. It wasn't a Stampin' Up! Tip. And in order to make this bow look like it's actually attached to the ribbon behind, the trick is, this is a sewing kit. We travel, and so we have to be as compact as possible, and I had this giant sewing kit that I'd owned forever, and I could not bring it with me. It took up too much room, and I bought this little sewing kit. This is the closest ribbon or thread color. So the tip is that you take your thread. So another thing that I might have learned years ago is to make a knot that stays. I triple loop it. I'm guessing where I want my ribbon to close up tight. And I'm going to do a triple loop again. So rather than just a regular knot that I want to stay, I do one extra loop, like so. Okay, now I get to trim it off. And when I tack my bow down, now the ribbon does not show above or below, and it folds scrunchy-like, as if the bow was tied around it, even though it's simply applied to the top. So that's the tip on that one. And my plan was to use this with a horizontal, probably a horizontal message. I'm going to use the Every Day is a Fresh Start, and I will make Every Day is a Fresh Start in, I believe I'm going to use the pool party and see how that looks. So that's my plan. That finishes up the cards for today. So that's 8 total cards, and I will play with these as I finish them off. You'll notice that all of my borders, I had already adhered all of my background layers. They're all 1/8 all the way around, so they're trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I tried to do horizontal. I'm not good at horizontal cards because I like vertical, but this was my horizontal card. And then I did use this Wood Textures DSP, and then I used the pattern paper DSP. I used 3 embossing folders, subtle, the dots, and 4 corrugated and tin roof or tin tile. And I will come back and do a final reveal of these cards once they're all finished. Alright, I have finished the 4 cards. I ended up not using sequins at all. I think it's interesting how sometimes I have an idea, then I get out all my materials and I go with something totally different. So here's how I finished this one. I knew I wanted to do a little bit more, and I used the glitter dots. I only have a few left now. So that's complete. The wood one, I really like how that geometric shape looks when it's sticking up, so I've only adhered it to the dimensionals behind the banner. And then I ended up using these faceted dots in the Grapefruit Grove. So that one's finished. I also then stuck with tone on tone, used the Grapefruit Grove dots again on this one. And for this beautiful one, I actually got a little bit of ink here, and that's actually what started the glitter dots over the sequins. So I've covered a little boo-boo there, and that finishes the 4th card off. So here's my 4 fancier cards. And I hope you found this all interesting. Again, I love doing paper pumpkin. I ended up getting it a couple of weeks late. I knew by then that it was a calendar and that I would be bringing more than normal to the table to make these cards. I think that the stamp set and the 2 inks alone, as well as the ribbon, I used the ribbon on 3 of the 4 cards, and I still have this much ribbon left, and I also already hung my calendar up with this ribbon, so I think the materials still are plenty to make a lot of alternative cards, even though the main part of the project was a calendar. And hopefully you guys will get some ideas of your own to be able to stretch all of these materials to their furthest. I had one little thing to show, and that is advising you guys to consider the re-inkers. These are fresh, and I needed to pull out my sponges to be able to sponge the edges. Looks like I've got the... So here's my sponges. They were on the back of my spots. These spots, neither of them have been inked. And you can see here, I will actually redo this. These are the 2 hellos in the green, Pool Party. So this Pool Party is from January, and it has never been re-inked. And it inks, and that's what you get, very faint. So it needs to be re-inked, which is why I was thinking I should tell you guys, with collecting the spots, you know, there's only so much ink in these, and they do, over time, I use them up or they dry out a little bit. Here is a fresh spot. Way darker. So, definitely be thinking about collecting your re-inkers for all of your spots. I don't think there's any need to have a full size pad. None of mine, all of mine are spot size, and I have every color. And I have purchased all of the re-inkers, and I'm just now starting to see my spots from January are starting to dry out because I use them a lot. And I have re-inked some of them, and definitely my Pool Party needs to be re-inked. So that's the final tip of the day, and thank you all for watching.